Hello everyone. Today we're going to discuss what can you do if receiver is refusing to unload your client's truck. Okay, so sooner or later you are probably as an independent truck dispatcher going to run into a situation where your client arrives at receiver and receiver tells the driver that sorry, we're not going to take you. Your appointment is not really scheduled for today and it's going to be tomorrow or maybe 2 or 3 days from now before we can unload you. This creates a really huge headache for your client, the motor carrier. So, because now they're stuck, they can't go anywhere. You probably have already planned another load for them, which they had to pick up next. Now you have to cancel that. So, what can you do? How can you handle this situation? Technically speaking, this problem wouldn't be such a great problem if your client got compensated for the time they're going to lose while waiting to get unloaded. So if they were fairly compensated for each day they're sitting, well, that's just something different that they would have to do. Instead of driving, they would be sitting and they would be paid for it. Unfortunately, the problem is that no one is willing to pay the rate which would compensate them adequately for lost time. As we discussed in our other video about detention and layover, which I'm going to link below, a typical layover is just $150. And $150 will not cover any kind of your client's expenses. So it wouldn't be acceptable, especially if your client going to lose 2 or 3 days of work. I mean, $300 or $450 is not going to do anything for your client. So what can you do in this situation? What kind of solutions can you offer as a dispatcher? First of all, I have to mention something. If your client has arrived at destination on a predetermined date, at the right time, at the right address, as it was outlined in the rate confirmation, and could not deliver the freight, then by law, an alternative arrangement has to be made, which means you have to get a new rate confirmation with a new date, a new time, and also a new rate that would compensate your client. And until you receive this rate confirmation and until you agree to the terms and sign it, there is really no new arrangement that has been made. And as I mentioned, a lot of brokers will not want to make any kind of arrangements because it's going to cost them money. No matter which solution you offer, it's going to cost them money and they don't want to lose money. So they will just try to stick it to you, basically. They're just going to say, well, I'm going to be working on it. Just wait, we'll get you unloaded, and they're going to tell you all kind of stories. Now, what you have to do is to demand this rate confirmation with appropriate compensation. So if your client wants to receive $500 for each day he ends up sitting, and he has to sit for 2 or 3 days, then you have to demand $1,000 or $1,500 of a layover, and you have to get it on a rate confirmation as soon as possible. And if broker is not giving it to you, that means they don't want to pay that. Now, what you should do is you should offer this freight broker alternative options. You can tell them, hey, Mr. Broker, if you like, we can drive this cargo back. We'll take it back to the shipper. Tomorrow, shipper can unload it. You're just going to have to compensate us for, again, the mileage that we have to drive back. This might be cheaper than paying us layover at our rate. That's a solution. Then you get yourself another motor carrier to deliver this load. If it's not too far away, if this is not really a long haul shipment, it might be an option. If it's just a few hundred miles, someone may go for it. However, if it's 5, 6, 800 miles, then it's going to be very costly for a freight broker to do something like this. So, alternative solution would be to unload this cargo somewhere else. Just find a third-party warehouse facility and get it unloaded. Okay, you get paid for delivering the load, and then freight broker will have to find another motor carrier to just make kind of a local delivery from the warehouse to the receiver on a rescheduled date. And last but not least, or probably it should be a first kind of solution, is to tell freight broker that it just has to get scheduled for today, to, you know, for delivery to be scheduled today. Then he will not have to pay layover to you. Now, all these options are going to cost freight brokers some money, and they will try to get out of paying this. So what can you do to enforce this kind of situation and make them more agreeable? First of all the suggestions I just mentioned probably should be sent to the freight broker in writing via email, because whatever you say on the phone, he said, she said, nobody cares. And if you create a proper language in your email saying, hey, we just would like to note that, you know, we are making the best effort to redeliver this load. We're giving you different options, you know, and if you are not agreeing to any of them, this is basically your fault. It's not our fault. If freight broker keeps denying you, you know, or not agreeing to any of the options, you also may want to point out to them that, you know, you will let their client know of this situation, okay, that this is what's happening. You may want to tell them you're still going, even if they don't provide you with the rate confirmation, you will still charge them for the layover, and you will try to collect it from their client. So you're basically going to have to start creating some sort of trouble for this freight broker. Now, I'm not going to make any particular recommendation, but different clients handle it differently. Some are non-conflict type clients, and they will just say, well, you know, let's see if we can come to some sort of an agreement on the layover amount, and, you know, and they're just going to be cursing this freight broker, but eventually will end up waiting and delivering the loads. And then I have clients that take a very hard stance on this. They just basically tell them, look, you know, if you don't pay me for waiting here, I just will not. I'm moving this load to my yard, and it's going to sit there until we make new arrangements. And I'm going to charge you for each day of storing your freight. Now, a lot of freight brokers are going to start responding to them with something like, well, we're gonna call the police, and we're going to say that you have hijacked the load. And the response to that is very simple. No, we're not hijacking the load. Please feel free to provide police with my phone number. We will tell them what the situation is. We will show them when we had to deliver the load. We will show them that we have offered all the solutions, alternative solutions to deliver the load to you. You ignored all of them, so we had to move and store the load until we can make further arrangement. And you will see that at this point, they're not going to be calling anyone. They're going to try to figure out how to get you the money. So again, it depends on the client, because, you know, you're basically getting somewhat confrontational in this situation. But important thing to remember is to try to work it out with the broker, to offer them those alternative options of either taking the load back to the shipper or delivering somewhere else, or making freight broker to make more suitable arrangements for redelivery. And you have to get your compensation in writing on the rate confirmation as soon as possible. And with all that being said, we are going to wrap up this video, and I will see you next time.